Hey, I'm Jake with the Fireside Tattoo Network, and welcome to another episode of Fireside Technique. Today isn't necessarily a technique video where we're going to explain why we're making certain decisions on the skin, but it is just as important. It's actually probably the most important thing you can do, and that is to see your healed tattoos. And I'm going to tackle this from two different perspectives: why you need to see your healed tattoos and what questions you need to be asking yourself. I'm going to start with a beginning tattooer. I'm going to say a tattooer that's been tattooing for 3 years or less. Let's go with 3 years. Seems like a good number. The first thing that a tattooer needs to do at the 3-year mark and before is to photograph every single tattoo that they do. And not a crappy, glared out, blown out iPhone photograph. The best photo that you can possibly get. We have the luxury these days of taking as many photos as we want, get an even light, take great photos from every angle, paying special attention to areas that you feel like are questionable. Maybe the ink didn't go in as well as you'd like. Maybe you were experimenting with a new technique. Make sure that you get close-up photos of all of those areas specifically, and then have the client come back a month, 2 months after the tattoo is healed. And what you're looking for, obviously, at this point are technical flaws, things that worked well, things that didn't work well from a technique standpoint, lines that have fallen out, color blends that didn't go well that maybe get milky during the transition areas, spotty color, holes in the tattoo, and comparing those areas to what they looked like fresh. So you're looking at the healed tattoo and you're thinking, and you're looking simultaneously at your photograph and asking yourself, did that work? What didn't work about it? What did it look like when it was fresh? What did it look like when it was fresh, and what does it look like healed? And so what you're learning to do there is read the skin when it's fresh. That's one of the most vital things that you need to know as you begin to explore and experiment with new techniques is, when did that skin cross the threshold? What did it look like when it became overworked? And the only way to know that is to look at the healed tattoo alongside of the photograph, of the high quality photograph of the fresh tattoo, to see, okay, this obviously didn't heal well. What did that skin look like when it was fresh? All right, the next step from there would be someone who's tattooing over 3 years. At this point, you're probably taking on larger projects. You've solved most of the technical issues. You are trying to find your unique kind of mark making within tattooing. You're exploring with different needle configurations probably. You're starting to layer, you're starting to texture areas and things like that. So that's why it's so important to see those areas, is how are these new risks, these new chances that you're taking, translating and settling in, and what are they looking like 3 months down the road and 6 months down the road. I'm gonna bring John, my buddy John, in for this one real quickly because he happens to be getting tattooed today. And we're gonna look at a tattoo that's, what is this, a year old? Something like that? Okay. So we're gonna look at the tattoo at a year or two, and I'm gonna tell you what I'm thinking as he walks in the door. And I start this as he walks in the door each time, especially with larger scale work. He walks in, he has his backpack, he has his laptop, he puts his stuff in the refrigerator, he walks and sits down. I'm glancing, I'm squinting and I'm glancing at his tattoo the entire time. And I'm asking myself 3 questions. I'm asking, what's working, what's not working, and what if? Okay, so let's run through those. First, he has a sleeve down to here. I want to know what shirts look like what sleeves look like with shirt sleeves on. Did I crop this head in a way that it doesn't work? Did I? Is this? Let's see a sleeve. Let's leave it down to here. Is this a confusing area? Does that make any sense to me? Should I have broken this shape at a different place? It's nothing I can go back and solve now when it comes to something like that, but it's something I can keep in mind for future reference. So from there, can we pull your sleeve up a little bit? Let's see. Let's go on up from there. From there, in this case, I had a cover up I had to deal with, and so there's a large tribal piece under this. So I'm asking myself, well, what's working about that? Well, I did a good job of distracting from the tribal cover-up by creating strong contrast in this area and by creating these textural effects with the lightning bolts coming off of Shazam, right? Coming off of Shazam in the top area. Is there anything that I could do to make it more dynamic, to make it stronger? Well, maybe I could come in and punch these blacks a little further and lay some of these reds over these blacks and see if I could create a little more separation in here, okay? So that's what's working. This area is working well because it's distracting from this area. What's not working? Well, that is a little bit too much dark for me. I wouldn't mind separating that now. And now that it's settled in, I could probably get away with that. I could probably punch these darks a little more and lay a few reds in here and get some slight separation where his torso would actually come down, and you get a little bit of contrast right there. As I move through, I might ask myself, okay, well, on the forearm, as I squint, what's working here? What's not working? Well, I love these dynamic shapes. I love how these come up. If I had harder edges right here, would that have made a big difference, or would it distract from Superman? These are just questions that I would ask. You know, I might play with the idea of coming in and putting harder lines on these shapes because they dissolve a little bit and they look like they should be really sharp shapes, but they're dissolving a little bit at the top. And these are the kind of questions that I'll ask myself, and it's the only way, and likely I won't do anything else to this tattoo. Overall, I look at it, the large shapes are working for me, I like it, and I'll probably leave it as is. But what I will keep in mind the next time that I do something that has these types of dynamic shapes is, oh, remember that one area on John's, I kind of wish that I had punched those areas a little bit harder, because a year later, it settled in a way that I feel like I could have made it more dynamic by punching those edges up a little bit. So, seeing your heel work, absolutely crucial to creating dynamic tattoos that live a long time in the skin. Remember, we're not painters. We might be painters, but we're not painters when it comes to tattooing. We're dealing with limitations that no other visual artist in the world deals with, and this is the limitation. This stuff, skin. We don't have black, we don't have white. Our artwork breathes and lives and gets sunburned and everything in between, and we have to allow for it. The only way to allow for it is to see it settled in and learn to make better decisions based off of what you see. Hope that helped. See you guys next time.